Hello everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. With Massachusetts under lessened guidelines for wearing masks, more arts and entertainment facilities are opening up. This week, among other things, I will be discussing both of the local baseball teams in Berkshire County, in Pittsfield and North Adams, and having an extensive but cautious summer movie preview. It's cautious because you never know when a COVID surge will happen again. First, it's time for this week's trivia question, which will be answered at the end of our summer movie preview. This week's question is, what was the first film that gave us the term summer blockbuster? Now, for this week's local entertainment headlines. First, a refresher on where Massachusetts stands in the fight against COVID-19. The CDC and the state of Massachusetts has updated their guidelines for wearing masks. People who have had the vaccine can now go in public without wearing masks. On Monday, May 17th, Governor Charlie Baker changed the target date for ending Massachusetts restrictions from August 1st through May 29th. This is more than 2 months ahead of the scheduled reopening date. Masks are still required in certain settings like transportation, certain schools, and healthcare facilities. Additionally, people who have not had the vaccine will be advised to continue wearing masks and applying to social distancing regulations. However, if you have had the vaccine but do not feel comfortable maskless, that is perfectly acceptable as well. People who have had the vaccine have an option of masks or no masks. Make sure to call stores that you're visiting to check out their mask policy. Also, the state of emergency that has been in place since March 10, 2020 will be lifted on June 15th, which will allow for city government meetings to be held in person and no longer on Zoom. Now, COVID-19 cases are down a remarkable 89% since January 8th, and hospitalizations are further down 88% since January 1st. By far one of the best decreased rates in the nation. Despite this positivity, anything could happen regarding another COVID surge. So, stay tuned to WWHEN for more information about this ever-changing pandemic. In Pittsfield, the Berkshire Athenaeum has reopened in full. Effective June 1st, patrons are now allowed out on site without an appointment during all open hours. These are currently Mondays through Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Fridays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Vaccinated patrons visiting the main floor and balcony of the library starting on June 1st will not be required to wear masks, although it is optional. Those who have not been vaccinated, however, must continue to wear masks, no exceptions. This also goes for people who are visiting the children's library, regardless of vaccination condition. It is mandatory to wear masks when you are visiting the children's library. Additionally, curbside pickup and donations with an appointment at the Bartlett Avenue parking lot continues. They are asking for books, DVDs, and books on CDs. Hours of donation are from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. In some more information, the next Friends of the Athenaeum book sale will be on Thursday, July 15th from 10:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Friday, July 16th from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., and Saturday, July 17th from 10:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. This year, you must make an appointment to enter the sale. Appointments can be made beginning on June 24th. Visit the website shown here to register for the event. The Pittsfield Suns are currently playing a very busy schedule. Their record is 4-1, and they are allowing fans into the stands, provided they are wearing masks. This year, the Pittsfield Suns have several players who have graduated from Berkshire County schools. These include former Housatonic standout Caleb Shapur, Monument Mountain player Nate Cormier, and Pittsfield High School student Ryan Lapierre. Both season and single game tickets are available for purchase on the Pittsfield Suns website. For season tickets, box seats cost $175, grandstand seats cost $125, and new this year are kids' season tickets for ages 12 and under. These tickets will cost $25. For single game tickets, advanced tickets cost $6 for box seats and $4 for bleacher seats. Day of game tickets cost $8 for box seats and $5 for bleacher seats. And the July 4th game will cost $14 for box seats and $7 for bleacher seats. Also coming back this year are the North Adams Steeplecats, who will be returning along with the rest of the New England Collegiate Baseball League, which was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic. The North Adams Steeplecats are allowing fans in limited capacity, and there will be fireworks after the game, weather provided. Their season started up on June 3rd. In an interview he had with the Berkshire Eagle, General Manager Matthew Torra stated, quote, "I'm pretty happy with who we have. Manager Mike Daly did a really good job of adding some key players." End quote. If the name Matthew Torra sounds familiar, that's because he's one of Pittsfield High School's best all-time players. A former pitcher, he graduated from PHS in 2002 and then attended the University of Massachusetts Amherst. There he continued to excel on the mound. In 2005, he led the entire NCAA Division I in earned run average with a 1.14 ERA. To put this in perspective, there were 294 colleges that played Division I baseball in 2005, and Matthew Torra led them all in earned run average. Torra's performance earned him several All-American honors, and he was drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks with the 31st pick in the 2005 MLB draft. While he never pitched in the majors, due to a combination of injuries and a logjam of pitchers ahead of him in the major leagues, he was able to pitch in the 2013 World Baseball Classic, pitching for the Italian team and honoring his Italian heritage. It's great to see Torra back in the Berkshires. Tickets for the North Adams Steeplecats are currently on sale. All tickets cost $5. Visit their website for more information. Ashland Street in North Adams will be having a mural painted in the next month. Housing Authority Director Jennifer Hone was excited to announce to the North Adams Board of Commissioners that work on the proposed Ashland Park apartments should start beginning on June 11th. It was announced last year that the artist Gaia was commissioned for the mural that will be installed on the north side of the high-rise building. Raised in Baltimore, Gaia has created large-scale murals worldwide to engage whichever community he works in by using historical and sociological references to these neighborhoods. He has painted all over America, and some of his works have even been mentioned in Europe. Earlier in 2020, project coordinator Benjamin Lamb said that the mural, quote, will be inspired by the future generations of North Adams and the women and children who help build the community and local industries over time, end quote. This mural will be part of the Ashland Street initiative, a project to enhance and beautify the North Adams and MCLA area. It is inspired by the Eagle Street Initiative, the citizens group behind the NA Amazing Project, Common Folk, and more. The Edith Wharton Mount in Lenox is announcing several new events this summer. First comes the Sculpture Now show. In the Sculpture Now show, artists have created 30 new juried large-scale outdoor sculptures, which are located on the grounds of the mount. The sculpture walk map and the audio guide will help visitors find the artists waiting for them by the sculptures. This will take place on June 20th from 3 to 4 p.m. and tickets are free with your visit. The Mount is also hosting a ghost tour every Friday from 8 to 9 until August. This will be a virtual ghost tour. For some background, the Edith Wharton house is rumored to be extremely haunted, both by previous servants of the mansion and by some of the Wharton family itself. Viewers will be led by veteran tour guide and expert on the Edith Wharton house, Robert Oakes. He will be taking visitors to places that are normally off limits. This is not an event for all ages and is not meant for those of the faint of heart. The Edith Wharton house's website has stated that this is not recommended for children below the age of 10 or those who are uncomfortable with the supernatural. Tickets for the event cost $10 for non-members of the Edith Wharton house, but are free for members. To reserve tickets, visit the website shown here. It's now time for a very tentative and hopeful summer movie preview. Last year, at this time, the fate of many theaters, and Hollywood as a whole, was up in the air. With so many movie release dates being rearranged and theaters being closed, the very idea of a summer movie changed. This year, the blockbuster is back with a vengeance. So far, there's been several big blockbusters this year. The biggest being Godzilla vs. Kong and A Quiet Place Part 2. Studio executives, however, aren't taking any chances. Last year they were blindsided by the pandemic, but streaming became more popular than it ever has been. As a result, many of the movies I will be discussing will also be going to streaming platforms, such as HBO Max and Disney Plus, simultaneously, just as a precaution. This year's movie preview will be focusing on movies that are going to be opening in theaters, along with those who are releasing simultaneously, because it's important to support the theaters after the year that they had. Currently, some of the biggest movies in the theaters include A Quiet Place Part 2, which has earned over $97 million so far, Cruella, which has earned $26 million so far, and that doesn't include Disney Plus, The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, and Peter Rabbit. Additionally, Cruella is streaming on Disney+, and The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and In the Heights are streaming on HBO Max. In a later segment, I'll be discussing A Quiet Place Part 2 more in depth. Later this month, two other major releases will be the action comedy The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which is scheduled to be released on June 16th, and what box office analysts are projecting to be the first movie to hit the $100 million premiere mark in the pandemic, the latest movie in the Fast and Furious franchise, F9, which has a release date of June 25th. In July, the major releases include the latest film in the Purge series, The Forever Purge, which is going to come out on July 2nd, the first Marvel movie to come out in nearly 2 years, Black Widow, which also has a projected $100 million, and that will open on July 9th. And it will also be released to early access on Disney+. The 25 years in the making sequel of Space Jam, this is called Space Jam 2: A New Legacy and stars NBA legend LeBron James, will be released on July 16th, both in theaters and HBO Max. Lastly, July 23rd is a busy day with the M. Night Shyamalan thriller Old and the G.I. Joe spin-off Snake Eyes, both of which are going to be theater exclusive. In August, we have the latest DC comic adaptation of The Suicide Squad, which will be released to theaters on August 6th and will also be coming to HBO Max. August 13th is a very busy day with the horror sequel Don't Breathe 2, the action comedy Free Guy, and the award-worthy Respect, based off of the life of Aretha Franklin, all of which come out that day. And Don't Breathe 2 should be coming on HBO Max. The last movie in our summer movie preview is the latest movie in the Kingsman spy movie series, simply titled The Kingsman, which comes out on August 20th. This next statement is very important. All dates of all movies are scheduled to change at any time. This is because the COVID-19 virus is still largely at play, and we don't know if another surge is going to happen again. As I've stated, many of these movies are also going to be playing on streaming sites as well. Plus, these movies should be coming to on-demand faster in case of any emergency. Stay tuned to WWHEN for updates on the movies, their release dates, and their release platforms. Summer Movies also brings us the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, this week's question was, what was the first film that gave us the term summer blockbuster? The answer is 1975's Jaws. It's hard to believe now, but summer used to be a dangerous time for movies. Movies that were thought to be hits in the 60s and early 70s were released in February or March. But then the summer of 1975 happened, and Steve Spielberg released the classic shark film Jaws. The movie earned $260 million at the United States box office this summer. If you adjust this total for inflation, it is the 7th highest grossing movie of all time. People were lining up around the block just to see this movie, as shown here. The success of this movie created the blockbuster age of film, and with the exception of last year due to the pandemic, The blockbuster movie has been a part of many people's summer vacations. It's now time for this week's movie review segment of WWHEN. After a year of not being able to go to the theaters, I finally felt brave enough to see one at the Regal Cinemas in Lanesboro. The movie of choice? A movie that scared the pants off of me. A Quiet Place Part 2. First, a brief recap on the first Quiet Place, which debuted in 2018. Set in the near future, our lead characters, the Abbott family, are hunted by monsters who only hear sound. After one of the children is taken by the monsters and loses his life in the process, the family must struggle to survive in silence. One of their surviving children, Regan, is deaf, as is the actress Millicent Simmons, who plays her. So they have a higher set of skills of communication than other people would in this scenario. Wife Evelyn is now pregnant, and the monsters are attacking the children, Regan and Marcus. Just as all seems lost, Father Lee screams, distracting the monsters, who ultimately sacrifice himself. Evelyn has the baby, but the movie ends with the remaining family in danger. That leads to the sequel, which takes place immediately following the events. A Quiet Place Part 2 was supposed to be released on March 13th, 2020. Unfortunately, that was the week that the COVID-19 pandemic blew up. The release was delayed almost a full year. A Quiet Place Part 2 opened up to $70 million at the global box office, which was its projected numbers for its original opening date prior to the pandemic. So far, it has earned $97 million. As of this date, it is the highest grossing post-pandemic film. So what do I think of A Quiet Place Part 2? It retains what made the first film so scary. As per its name, A Quiet Place, the movie's scariest moments comes in the silent parts. You know something bad is going to happen. And when it does, it's absolutely horrifying. There's this sense of dread throughout the movie. One of the things I also appreciated about A Quiet Place Part 2 is how it juggled multiple plot points at the same time. But it's so smooth that you can't tell otherwise. There are 2 to 3 plot points running simultaneously. Also, the performances in this film are strong, especially from the children actors Noah Jupe and Millicent Simmons. They are extremely good with their performances from a few words alone, especially in Millicent Simmons' case, because, like her character, she is deaf. I appreciate how the film actually used a deaf actress. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst and 10 being the best, I give this movie a 9.9. It's one of 2021's best movies so far. But the only reason it's not a 10 is because this movie scared me so much. It did its job right. This was the first horror movie that I've ever seen at a theater. Normally, most of the horror movies that I've talked about, I've waited until they've gone on demand, because I've never wanted to go to a horror movie in a theater. Quiet Place Part 2 was the first, and also the last. However, if you're into watching horror movies at the theater, it's a great experience. That ends this week's episode of Wehry Weekly History and Entertainment News. If you would like to watch this or any other WWHEN episode again, you can visit PCTV, CTSB TV, and NBCTC's websites shown here. Also, if you would like to see the episodes in HD quality, make sure to check out my YouTube page at RT Wehry. Thank you.